Hello and welcome to the Big Brain Podcast. And we have a special guest this episode. It's none other than KangruKenny. Introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm KangruKenny, as you said.
That's it.
I'm the coach or interim head coach at the moment for Dark Zero in NA, competing at the Six Invitational 2025. Throughout this year, I've been coaching ITB in the EU League, and we made the Manchester Major Esports World Cup 2 out of 3 events, so pretty successful year.
Wow, what an accolade already. Damn.
Yeah, I will say off the get-go, I'm going to probably have some stupid questions. The other two are going to have probably better questions for you because myself, I'm not really too involved in that whole scene, but I do have some questions. So
That's fine. Any questions are good questions.
I'll try not to interrogate you as well.
As for me, I'm Sneaky Thief, R6 and Valorant content creator. I have an obsession with mice, but we just pass by that and we forget about that whole thing. And to my left, we have.
Hello, I'm Rendell, and I'm just here.
You sound so.
We don't know
sad.
where he came from. He just turned up one day.
He sounded so
We
sad.
don't know who he is.
He sounded so sad when he was here, but it's okay. We make him feel welcome. But continuing on with how we're going to make people feel welcome, Kenny, I appreciate you coming on to do the podcast with us. I really do appreciate that. Again, from all of us, we're happy that you've taken the time to just come and have a chat with us. But starting off, just give a bit more background. Like, what got you to do Siege coaching? How did you get into it? And what was your background getting into it?
So I played Siege from release, or even the beta, on Xbox when I was in secondary school. Fell in love with the game, was playing it with my mates. I played it for like 2 months on Xbox. Then my mates kind of drifted away from the game, didn't have much enjoyment as I did. So then I kind of stopped playing for maybe half a year. Then I got back into it and just randomly found 2 people just playing ranked who I'm good mates with now. And continue on Xbox until year 5 of the game. I made the switch to PC in 2020 because I've been watching Pro League the entire time I was on Xbox and kind of aspiring to do what I watched those people doing. I was a massive EG fan, massive Canadian fan.
Yeah.
So I was just fully involved in the esports side, and I come from a heavy sport background. Throughout my childhood, I had grown up doing taekwondo, martial art, and playing
Okay.
rugby.
Interesting.
So two heavy contact sports, but every sport's competitive, and I was just grown up on competition, and I just loved winning. So when I got into my mid to late teens, my body kind of couldn't keep up with it. I had a knee injury that kind of meant I couldn't really compete in either anymore. Martial arts and rugby both quite strenuous on the knees. So I kind of like naturally gravitated into esports to quell my thirst for competition. And then moved to PC to try and make it into Pro League. I made a team with 3 players who I knew from Xbox. So Leader, Azza, and now known as, well, no one knows him because he never made it, but Jinx, who was a phenomenal player who, if he did want to go pro, he would have been pro. He was a phenomenal player.
Yeah.
But yeah, we made a very early team for Yukon 2, and then we just ever since climbed up through the ranks, got picked up into 10-star in T2, had an amazing run through T2 that we kind of made loads of noise. Players kept getting picked up into Pro League. And then in August of 2023, I got picked up into ITB as like an assistant coach to Leonski. We made the LCQ final in that year, or in that stage. Then 2024 came around. My assistant coach, Leon, got a job offer he couldn't refuse in real life. Fantastic opportunity. So I was left as a sole head coach, and then 2024 came around, and here we are now.
Damn.
Just to quickly roll it back, what's like the first steps of like getting into that space? So like you said, you formed a team, but like where do you go from there? What do you do?
I mean, the foundations when you're at the very start you know, the baseline of quality of teams or quality of competition is that high. So all you really need to be able to do is just be good at the game. And we just had 5 players who have been playing the game for a long time, were very good. And that meant that we were able to qualify into tier 4 league. So it was all like a constant learning experience, because I had a lot of strategic depth of the game. Like I played as well. Like when I first moved to PC, I played in T4 leagues. I was a player, but I just naturally, I don't know how the coaching came about. They just asked me to be their coach, and it wasn't something that
He's
I
like, "Go on
had
then."
like been looking to do. Like I started out wanting to be a player, but I just, ever since I was in that role, I found it just kind of came natural to me to, you know, be in control and using my expertise of the game. I'm not amazing mechanically, so it wasn't like I was losing the ability to be a player. And I was just learning as much as they were going forward. But I think my qualities of being a coach, and I naturally gravitated into that position, was because of my martial arts. Martial arts teaches you everything about discipline, about self-control, about, you know, respecting others and elevating each other, because you have a school, right? You have a school of everyone who trains together. You beat the shit out of each other, but you're
That's
beating
so
the shit out of each other to
Out of
become
respect.
better.
Yeah.
And then when you get to the international tournaments, you know, you've all made each other better and you all want each other to succeed. So it's kind of like, even though it's an individual sport, it is very much a collective. So you learn how to work with people, you learn how to take criticism. That was one of the main things, you know, like being told straight, okay, this is wrong, you're doing this wrong, this needs to improve, this is how you should do that. And that's very much how coaching in Siege is, you know. Okay, looking at the scenario, we could have done this better, or this was a wrong decision, you shouldn't have done this. And being very honest. And once people understand the honesty, then you're just going to continue to learn and grow.
I agree
I
with
can
that.
see how a lot of those qualities from what you've done before has transferred over, because in Siege, like when you've lost a round, you're fuming. You don't want to completely shit on your teammates. You don't want to just flame them for no reason, but you want to say, this is exactly where we've gone wrong. Like, when can we sort it out?
Yeah,
so I can see.
You've got to criticize with praise. I think that's the best way of putting it. So, like saying, you made the wrong decision here, for, you know, for a player of your standard, or like letting them know that you still value them and they are good at what they do, but this was just the wrong thing to do. Because if you just praise after praise after praise, people see through that. Like, no one's perfect. If you're just praising and praising, and it's on the flip side, if you just criticize, people are going to start to resent you. That's just a natural human reaction. So you really have to balance the two to
it's like a morale thing as well, isn't it? It's like, if you're just constantly criticizing people, they're just like, well, what's the point? I'm just going to play how I want to play now. So
I like the analogy though with the martial arts as well. It's because it's true, because I grew up doing karate, judo, a bit of Thai boxing, and I find that those values that you get from martial arts really it's actually quite useful in like everyday life, as well as like playing in the most competitive, like in any sport, because it teaches you that there are times where, you know, you're going to get outmatched, but you have to think very, very clearly and calmly in order to be the best version of yourself to even stand a chance. So it's a really good analogy, actually. I really like that one.
Yeah, I love. Even if I wasn't in this industry, like, I would not just be the person I am today without martial arts. Like, I was a very shy child, like very shy. I mean, I think my first training session in Taekwondo when I was 6, I cried. You know, I was just scared. I was terrified. Like, my instructor, he was a very harsh man. He was a lovely man. Like, there was the work side of him and the human side of him, and you knew deep down he was a good guy, but he was harsh to get the best out of you. He just wanted you to be the best person you could be. So, and I wouldn't, without that kind of toughness, and that there's 5 tenets in Taekwondo: courtesy, integrity, perseverance, self-control, and indomitable spirit. And like, those can be used all throughout life. You know, I learned how to respect people. I learned how to respect myself. I gained confidence to believe in myself, and, you know, have the evidence. If I work hard and I put the effort in to improve, I'm going to be able to achieve what I want. And I ended up, like, my pinnacle was I represented England at the international, like the World Championships. So that was a fantastic moment for me, representing England, and that was like where I got to like the end of my career when I had a really bad knee injury that actually happened at those championships. But yeah, martial arts is just fantastic, and it will be something that if and when I have children, like I'll definitely have them following suit, because what it did for me was invaluable.
Yeah,
that's really good.
I've got a quick question with like how you said sort of managing people and how you come across to people in Siege. Do you find it difficult dealing with people in Siege, especially since when you're dealing with people quite high caliber sort of skill levels, they can have a bit of ego, right?
I think I've been in a nice position throughout my career that I've always been able to build my teams. So I've always been able to choose my players, and I've never chosen anyone who I deems to have an ego or deems them higher standard than everyone else. A team is built on cohesion, and a team is only as strong as your weakest link. And if someone thinks that they are above everyone else, that just A, doesn't build for a good environment, B, doesn't build for chemistry, C, there's a very fine line between confidence and ego. And when that tips over into ego, now that's impacting your individual performance. It impacts the team, because now you're more playing for yourself than you're playing for the team. So I've never had to deal with anyone like that. Now I've joined a team rather than building a team in Dark Zero. That was like, a worry, but I've been with them for a month now. Everyone is super down to earth, so nice. No one thinks of themselves above anyone else, which I've never had to deal with, so I don't know how I would. But all the people that I've dealt with in my career have been fantastic people. Enjoyed teaming with every single person, so I've never had to deal with it. I don't know how I would if I was in that scenario.
You've probably got the qualities to deal with it though,
Yeah.
if it was to come up, rather than most people, right?
I don't like conflict, which you may see as a negative being a coach. I don't like conflict with people. There are times where I do have to be strict, but when I have to be strict, because I have built a culture and environment that people know I'm a nice guy, I will only be strict if I 100% deem it necessary. If like you guys aren't living up to what you should be, the standards that we set ourselves as a team, or the results that we set ourselves as a team, if we're not putting in, my biggest gripe is put 100% effort in or don't put any effort in. Like it's 100 or 0. If you're coming to scrims and you're giving 70%, that's not good enough. So when I deem people not giving the rule, not giving their effort, then that's letting the team down. That's letting everyone down. So that's when I'll be strict. But I've never had the reaction or a conflict in return, because everyone knows I'm being strict because you guys are letting yourselves down. So it becomes very introspective that they know I'm only being harsh because it's the best for them. But if there was someone to strike back at me, that's an area that I've not had to deal with. So I actually don't know in
Lucky.
an area of unknown. Yeah,
he's very lucky. I've had many people.
Because you coach.
Yeah,
don't
because
you?
I was gonna say Rendell coaches.
Oof.
So how would you experience your coaching?
I coach on Rocket League, so it's incredibly different to Siege. But there has been times where it's like we've got a guy and he just constantly complains that his teammates are bad. He should be at this rank. And then you watch his replays and you watch him play, and it's like, no, you shouldn't. No. A lot of people who are the people who like give you conflict are obviously those egotistical people who are like, I'm the better than everybody else. Now, having that mindset going into ranked, especially Rocket League, going into ranked being like, I'm better than everybody else is an okay mindset to have. But if you're doing it to the point where you're ignoring criticism and you're ignoring things of improvement, it's just terrible. So there's been times where I've had to like literally say to the guy, you've got two choices. You can either stay and listen or you can leave and I'll give you your money back. Because it kind of gets to the point.
A bit of maturity, don't you? Yeah.
My thing is like, if you're gonna come in and get coach, if you're gonna get coaching, you need to understand that we're gonna say things you don't like as a coach.
Mm.
I'm sure, Kenny, you've probably said things to people that they've gone, oh, I don't like that you just said that to me, but
Yeah.
sometimes it has to be said, because if you fuck something up, you fuck something up. Just take it and deal with it.
Mm.
So if you're getting coaching, obviously you're walking into this space where you understand you're about to get heavy amounts of criticism for your own improvement. If you can't understand that and you don't like it, don't get coaching.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's good.
That's
Yeah.
how it works.
It's that conflict. I mean, you sounds like you deal with it quite fairly though. Just like either stay here, learn, or if you don't want to go.
Yeah, you always give them the choice. Don't force and I just give them their money back to make them feel a lot better, and then they don't, they kind of just don't return.
Mm.
And then obviously in the Metafy world or in the Discord server, you kind of talk to the other coaches and be like, hey, just letting you know, the warning, this person's out there, to just be careful. Like obviously,
Yeah.
this is what he's like. Be aware that
Yeah.
he might try and do
Because
something
you don't
like
want
that.
to get them to have the same experience as you having, because at that point, that person could be deemed uncoachable at that point.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm close friends with two of the top Rocket League coaches at the moment. So, I mean, they give me advice and they tell me how to deal with things like that. And obviously, they do it differently towards the way I do. But every now and then, you learn, don't you, really, and how to deal with those kind of people. And I've never worked in retail. I just know that I couldn't handle that. So
I've worked in it. I think
Yeah.
and it's the thing is, I've worked in retail and I've worked in help desk. So where we're doing IT stuff. And the funny thing, the difference between those two things is that with help desk, I find that I deal with more rude people, and that's people because their main objective is, I've got to make some money. You're going to help me solve it so I can continue making money. And then with retail, people just want their stuff and then they want to go. So I kind of get it more with retail, and I'm okay with that. But with help desk, no, I can't do that. I can't do
I find with help desk, you come up against stupid people.
that. Usually,
That's what I'm dealing with currently.
you get that. You get that on occasion.
He's still stuck in that space.
I'm stuck.
But no, yeah, in terms of dealing with egotistical people, just give them a choice to either stay or go.
Yeah, so that's weird because Kenny, I thought there'd be a lot more egotistical people in that sort of space. Because you've mentioned like you haven't really come across it. I thought it'd be quite a common thing.
Well, I think I wouldn't say it's common, but I think there are people around that are egotistical. But I've never chosen to deal with those people or surround myself with those people.
You've never.
I want to surround myself with people who are like-minded, who I can get along with, and there aren't going to be any conflicts with. Even just on a friendly basis, you're never going to have arguments. And the people that I've been around around PC have all been brilliant, been real good friends. I could easily go out in real life with them and have a good time.
Yeah.
But there's definitely those people around, and there's a very internal ego is fine as long as it doesn't turn into delusion. But as soon as Randall was saying, as soon as that ego starts being put onto other people in terms of I don't want to listen to you, or I don't like what you're saying, or you're a bad teammate. As soon as that ego goes out of your internal bubble, then it's a big negative.
Yeah.
Internal ego is fine because it's construed as confidence, and overconfidence is actually good in some cases for the psychological aspect of competing. But yeah, it is fine line between going over into delusion on the internal side. But yeah,
go on.
Okay.
Oh no!
Yeah, there we go. We got two of them that are like, go on. They're so polite.
No. What I've noticed in Siege over the years is confidence is kind of key, isn't it? Just to being a good player. Like if you don't have that confidence to set up a certain way or swing or take gunfights, it shows. That's what I've noticed, and I play with confidence, but then you kind of get into that strut where you've died a consistent amount of one after the other, and then that confidence just knocks, and you're like, how do I come back? Have you sort of dealt with that, like sort of going into that rut of like, am I just bad now, or how do I come back from this?
Well, I mean, there's the team side of it. Like, it's very cliche, but fortune does favor the brave. Like, if you are confident and you are you are going into a gunfight knowing you're going to win that gunfight. You're going to win it more often than not against a guy that is going into that gunfight not as confident. I don't know what reason that has, why, whatever, but confidence does work. But the way that I teach, like, confidence is good. I want my teams to feel that they go into a game day and they have that thought process that any person they're peaking, they're winning that gunfight. But where the coach then comes into play is making sure that is disciplined. That when you have already technically won the round, you've got a 5v3, you've got a 5v2, whatever. That confidence now gets completely drawn back to zero, and you're now playing to just see out the round. Like, you've already won the round, you've done the hard part. Now just do the easy part. Be disciplined. You don't need to peak anyone anymore. They have to make them do the work.
Sheldon.
And
Shut
because
up.
they have to do the work, they're not gonna, like, as long as you play it correctly, they can't shoot 5 people at once.
Yeah,
which is fair enough. He says that, but he's got a point, because I find that in Siege at the moment, my main weakness is that I get to the point that, as you say, the hard work's done. We've secured the round. We've gotten ourselves to a 5-3-3 situation. But because I have a slight, in the nicest term, an ego of thinking I can do as good as these guys, I overpeak, I die, and then I make the situation harder, and now they have a chance to come back. So that's actually quite interesting to see it boils down to get the hard part done. And sometimes, like, even all of us will say we forget it from time to time, because we're very tunnel vision and focused. And that was something I wanted to kind of lead on to my next question, which was, how would you describe your team's play style? Would you kind of find that you want aggression is key, or would you find that you want to play back, play the round out, and execute at like the last 20 to 30 seconds?
The philosophy that I've always run with is you play to win the round until you don't need to anymore. So that's, following on from what I just said. Like, you play to get kills, you play to find kills around the map, like, get them. It doesn't matter if it's in the first 30 seconds, if it's minute 30 in the round. You're just looking to get kills, you're looking to win that round and get your man advantage, and then just, you've done the hard part, now do the easy part. You've got to learn how to do the easy part. You've got to learn how to transition your man advantage. You've got to learn how to transition rounds, and that, Siege is a complicated game. It's not an easy answer, and that's what you practice for day in, day out. 6 maps for. You learn every single scenario that can occur, and okay, what's the best course of action. So I would say that we've always been a proactive team. I'll call it that. Like, proactive. Like, you play to win the round. You play to find isolated people around the map, and that comes from counting. Okay, there's one guy here, and you're almost like painting a picture of the map in every round. Like, you paint a picture. Okay, from communication. There's a guy here. There's a guy here. There's a guy here. We don't know where the last 2 are, but we can assume, based on, like, the attack that they're doing. These can be assumed positions. There's probably a guy here, and last guy's around there. Well, this guy's alone. This guy's alone. Can we go and kill this guy? And it's very much being proactive. Like, let's go and kill this guy. And then as soon as you get your advantage, now you're playing that advantage out, and you're playing more passive. So it's basically playing aggressive until you don't need to. That's the way that I play. And it can be a slow style. It can be a fast style. Right now in the meta, changing tempo is massive. Like, you have to be able to play fast. You have to be able to play slow. You have to be able to change that between rounds. And that means that you're unpredictable. So that's kind of how we play.
I'm constantly telling this guy we need to push quick.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, like, the extent of how we're playing is nowhere near what you're doing. Like, we're just ranked. We're just little ranked monkeys.
It's still applicable.
It's so applicable, though. He's right.
Yeah, we do play very slow. Like, we have like a minute left. We're still outside. What we're doing.
Yeah, I think
it's just really frustrating.
But I think that also comes to a point we're so focused on execution of a certain strategy instead of just, as you say, which I think is actually a very good way of looking at it. Be proactive to set yourself up, and then worry about transitioning to what you need to do.
I was going to say, that is interesting, because I've always had in my mind, like, we need to do the plan first. And, like, if there's a guy on his own on the other side of the map, just leave him. But with what you said, you need to look for that guy, take him out, so you've got the man advantage. I've never thought of it like that.
That's a really good way of looking at it.
The simplest way of looking at the game at any level is just numbers. It's all about numbers. You start in a 5v5. as soon as you get a 5v4, you now have, generally statistically speaking, a 75% chance of winning that round, just because you've got the first kill of the round. The opening kill, the entry, is so important at a pro level, because your percentages just flip. You get the opening kill, you win 75%. Good teams are winning 80% of those rounds. You lose the opening kill, your chance to win that round now drops to 20. It's the complete opposite. So prioritizing kills and just getting yourself in that advantage. You get a 5v4, now no matter what you do, someone has a gap somewhere on the map, because they can only now hold 4 angles, whereas we can push 5. So just thinking about pure numbers, like everything's about numbers. If there's an isolated guy and he's on his own over here, send 3 people and go and kill him, because you're 3v1ing him or you're 4v1ing him. Just overwhelm every possible scenario, and then you're not leaving that down to 50-50, the round down to 50-50 gunfights all the time. Because if everyone's just taking 1v1, 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 or you're just executing in a 5v5, depending on bomb site, obviously, but as a general rule, it's a 50-50. As long as the man count's even, it's 50-50. But you can gain that man count by looking at the map. Where can we gain the biggest advantage? If there's a roam, say you're on chalet, a basement attack, and there's 3 floors of row. You see 2 people on the top floor, 1 person on the middle floor, 2 people on the site. Well, wherever you attack, as long as you attack the same space with multiple people, you're putting yourself in the advantage. If you attack top floor, you got a 4v2. If you attack the middle floor, depending on how many people you commit, you can have a 5v2. On the middle floor, you can have a 5v1. On the bottom floor, you can have a 5v2. So as long as the majority of people, you're looking at where the numbers are on the map and where can we commit, I call them mini games. Okay, there's a mini game here on the top floor. 2 people, 3 people were there from our team to be able to clear them. We've put ourselves in the advantage there. Rather than looking around the map and everyone trying to do their own thing, well, if one guy's attacking the middle floor, he's got a 1v1 with the middle floor guy. If 2 people are attacking where the roamers are on the top floor, that's a 2v2. That's another 50-50. So it's about numbers and just finding where the best advantage is for you in the map.
Okay.
I try to keep a mental note of all that.
You got to write
this season.
You got to write this down. It's really good though. I've never. I see that slightly when I play Valorant. It's funny enough. Because I agree. Siege is an extremely hard game, and it's one of them. I find it to be one of the most challenging games in the FPS scene because there's so much that you got to take into account. Whereas in Valorant, I find that I follow that philosophy a little bit more because there's less to think about for me. It's a weird way to describe it, but in Valorant, I'm thinking, okay, there's this lane, and this lane, and I also have a mini map in front of me. I don't have to worry about taking time to go on my drones, checking that information, or constant communication is key. I find in Siege all the time. So, yeah, it comes down to those fundamentals, and as you say, it's applicable in any situation, whether you're ranked, whether you're playing in the top end of Pro League, because the fundamentals is what win you games. But it's good to hear that. It's good to hear that.
And that's why in Siege, more often than not, like if you're playing ranked, and a 5 stack's going to be a stack of individuals almost 99% of the time, just because you have that communication and you can look to attack the same area with multiple players. Like if you're against a team of solo queues, they're all going to be doing their own thing. They're not together. They're not bolstering their numbers. They're just off doing whatever. And then as a stack, as a 5 stack, you can then, as you do, drone out on the map. Okay, there's one guy here. Let's use 3 of us to go and kill him. Let's use 4 of us to go and kill him. And then you just get that kill. And that's why, because you can communicate that, you can gain information for each other and actually coordinate a mini game on the map. You're gonna win 99% of your ranked games against solos.
Gotcha. Really interesting way to look at it, isn't it?
Rendell,
we've never done that.
Have you got any questions so far, Rendell?
I do actually, and I want to put Dark Zero into the light a bit here.
Jeez, okay.
In scrims or live games, LANs or whatever, do you ever sit there and watch the guys, or any team you've coached ever sit there and watch and then have a moment of, why the fuck did you do that? And have one of those sort of like in moon moments, in the spare moment where you want to say something, but obviously you can't.
All the time.
Yeah.
Well, I say all the time. There have been my like if we get to a game and my team is not prepared and they're making basic fundamental errors that is costing us rounds, or like just general discipline, like they overpeak or they overheat and they die unnecessarily solo in advantage, or we just made a wrong call. That's my fault. I have not prepared them well enough for this game. So I take it very personally. Like this team playing this game is my responsibility. If they are making mistakes and they are, prioritizing wrong things, that's my fault. Like they're only as good as I have prepared them, and if I have prepared them well enough and I've drilled the team well enough into a philosophy and identity, then I won't have any issues. And if every game that I go into, if I know I've prepared them well enough, I have no doubts that we are winning that game. I go into the game. I've even had games where I just don't time out because I know my team already have the answers because I've taught them the answers. Where some games, you use a timeout to do a shift of tactics or play a different style because the style you're playing isn't working. Well, my team already know what I would want them to do, so I don't have to waste my time out unless it's 100% necessary. They already have the answers because we drill the answers in every day. We practice so much that we know, okay, this team is doing this against us, so we're going to react and do this, or this, direct. Say a team is playing extremely aggressive onto you, like a lot of early peaks outside the building. Well, that means our playstyle shift should just be not to split anymore, because split attacks are very, very prevalent in Siege right now, where you spread across the map, you open literally everything, so the defense doesn't know what you're doing, and you open gaps for each other. But if teams are playing very solo aggressive against us, then we should now look to go more direct. We should look to bunch up instead of splitting, so we now have higher trade potential on those solo aggressors. And I don't have to time out to say that, because we've already gone through every single scenario that can occur and every single possible reaction. So I've had a lot of officials where I have full faith in my team. I know that I've given them the right tools to win this game, and they don't need me, because the difference between a coach in Siege and a coach in other games like CS coaches get 4 timeouts a map.
Yeah,
they can actively influence the game very highly. We get 45 seconds every map. That is just, it's almost pointless.
Yeah.
It is almost pointless. So I should never go into a game or thinking the team need me to win the game. They should already know how to win that game. And of course, there are timeouts where I do come in and I see something that the team haven't, because high pressure games on a stage, they're not always going to see the bigger picture, whereas I can. So there are times where it is useful, but I definitely have had my moments. I think back to Esport World Cup against Furia, like the W7M team that won the Sixth Invitational last year. We were 3-3 on border. We had our first attack. We had a 5v2, and we lost that 5v2. I was molding. That I was seriously molding, because we were playing them on our best map, and we know that Furia thrive on border defense. They love border defense. They had like a 65% defense win rate on the map, and the map is heavily attacker-sided. So every attack was like gold dust. Especially, we got a 3-3 defense half. So, I mean, we need at least a 3-3 to go to overtime. And we lost a 5v2 on the first attack. And that was just general individuals succumbing to the pressure of, okay, we've got a 5v2. They still held, wrong angles, in my opinion, to make themselves tradable. And a team of the experience like Furia, what are they going to do? They're going to find where the isolated people are, and they're going to peek them. And they've got the gun skill to win those gunfights. So one player peeks break room door because he knows that player's isolated, kills him. Another player, the second defender alive in Archives, peeks Archives window, kills him. Now our 5v2 is a 3v2, and this looks a lot more hairy than a 5v2, and we end up losing that round. We end up losing the map 7-4, and especially as a first attack, that momentum that we would have gathered off winning that first round in like a 5v1 or a 5v0, that would have given us massive confidence, massive motivation against one of the best teams in the world, and we fuck it up.
Yeah, that's
a coming to the pressure, and that's me stood behind them. I straight away timeout. Like that was just a straight away timeout. It was just like a timeout where I just kicked them up the arse. Like, we should never lose that round, and we're never going to win this game if that is the standard that we are playing those situations in.
It's
so
almost
there are
like...
Go on.
No, go on.
They're doing it again.
There are times where I do get frustrated behind because I know that the team is capable, but if they are, if they're tunnel visioning or they're not doing the right steps because they're succumbing to the pressure, then that's frustrating because I can't help them a lot of the time.
That's also my issue with I tunnel vision a lot, and these two are probably bad that up to the point where there's times where I'll go silent and I'll die, and all you hear from me is 75 on ace, and then that'll be it, and I'll just tell them where they are, and then I'll be quiet, or I'll go quiet, and then all you'll see is Rendell on the kill feed, and that's two of my issues. Is that I'm too used to solo queuing.
Yeah,
because I solo queued around about 60% of my career, time on Siege has been solo queuing.
I don't know how you could do that, honestly. I cannot.
It's very mentally draining because you'll lose a game and be like, all right, we'll go into the next game and we'll go. And then you'll have just one person who's at the bottom, 0 and 6. Hey, fuck you guys. You guys are so bad. But get the bomb, plant the bomb. And you're just thinking, you fucking shut up.
That's the thing. Like, when you get those players as well that have like an idea, sort of like a random that has an idea of what to do, I don't really play well with that, even though that's really helpful. They're trying to like construct a team of randoms to like come to some sort of outcome. I don't react well with it because I'm like, who are you? Like, I don't want to listen to you. I'm going to do my own thing, which is obviously not a
great.
good way to think. But yeah, I can't solo queue. I would get really frustrated.
This is what every time a random goes, hey, I think we should do this. You turn around and go, listen here, peasant. I'm a diamond rainbow.
I've deserved this now.
So moving on, I have obviously another question, and I'm gonna put Beaulo into the mix. How do you coach someone of that high of level as he is? Because obviously he's been in the pro scene for that long. Even beforehand, he went massive. He's an extremely good player. How do you coach someone who's already at the skill ceiling near enough?
The guy is amazing. Like a former 6 Invitational champion. That must be some pressure.
I mean, to say I wasn't, starstruck is an understatement. Like, I'm now even in a way. So BC is the general manager for Dark Zero, and growing up as an EG fan, like BC was on the EG roster, and
BC.
The guy, he was the one who messaged me initially regarding the interest, and it was like, oh my god, BC's messaged me, and even just generally being in around my first year of Pro League, you're talking with the greats of the game. I'm talking with Fabian, I'm talking with Pengu at events, and I'm seeing these. I'm seeing the W7M roster at EWC at Manchester, like these players I watched play one of the greatest games of Siege ever, standing right in front of me, and I'm competing alongside them now. So I've learned how to kind of, like, I'm still deep down a fan. I'm still deep down a fan of the game, and I've kind of fortunately found myself in a position where I'm now competing alongside. So it keeps me grounded. It definitely keeps me grounded because teaming with someone like Beaulo is something that I would never have dreamed of, 4 or 5 years ago when I wanted to make this a career. How I coach, it's understanding he already has the talent, but the philosophy of the game is changed or is changing still constantly a lot from when he won his sixth invitational. So the way that I see the game, or I've like come up through the game throughout this year in terms of the meta, is different to how Dark Zero had been playing. So I can teach him new things and new ways of looking at the game and new philosophies about, okay, this position that he's playing or he's played for years. He knows how to play that position. But now, because I'm teaching them a different way of looking at scenarios, now there's a way of playing that position that he hadn't considered before, because it just wasn't applicable in terms of the team. He had to fulfill a job in terms of, okay, you need to hold this this part of the map. But now his job is not only to just hold that area of the map, he's actively looking to either create the gap for himself or distract that area of the map to draw attention to create gaps for other people in the team.
Okay.
So it's a lot more, rather than, I think that they had a very individualized like positioning look at the game, that now it's every position is team focused. What does my position mean for the rest of the team? What am I doing? What does that mean for the rest of the team? Like, if I spot a guy here and a guy here, well, that means that I know there's a gap elsewhere. So I'm communicating that to the team. There's two here. Are you guys able to force the man, like, knowing that they have the advantage in man count on their side of the map, and communicating that to them? So it's not only just playing for yourself, it's looking at the context of the round in terms of the team. And just like motivation, you know, one of the hardest things for veterans is to stay motivated and know that, or prove to himself that he can still compete after all these years. And, you know, he's at a very different stage in his life now compared to when he won Six Invitational. He's got a fiance, he's got a child on the way. You know, it's a very different stage of life than just a teenager playing games in his bedroom, getting paid for it, and being very good at it. He's now got other things that are contributing to his motivation, and he's not only now playing for himself, you know, he's playing to upkeep a family. He as long as obviously he's an outlier that he has his content creation to fall back to, but it's still you're playing for the financial side now, whereas, you know, when you're 18, 19, 20, you don't need, well, you do need the money, but you don't, you know. You're just playing games for fun. Your main reason for playing pro is because you're good at the game and you enjoy playing the game.
The money's a bonus.
Yeah, the money's a bonus now. Whereas now, when you mature, you understand that it is a necessity.
Exactly.
So it's keeping him motivated and making sure that he constantly knows how to uphold his standards. Because there's one thing being good at the game, but because you're so good at the game, it's very easy to lower your effort levels. It's very easy to lower down to, you know, a 70%, 60% putting in every day. Are you still doing the same? Are you still putting in the same work that you did 5 years ago when you wanted to make it pro? Are you still rewatching your VODs? Are you still looking at your positions? How thinking to yourself that I'm not perfect. I can still play positions wrong. I can still play positions better.
I guess
so it's keeping it in their head that they don't know everything, because no one does.
It's like what I said earlier with, like, when you get into that sort of rut, like, I guess with a player like that, when you've played at such a high standard, when you're playing below those standards, like even once or twice, you kind of get into that headspace as well, don't you? You're trying to motivate yourself to get back to those standards, sort of thing. But
he has massive pressure as well from the outside.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Like, because of who he is, he has incredible pressure to uphold being the player that everyone thinks he is. And there's good pressure and there's bad pressure, and that's definitely bad pressure.
I agree.
Yeah.
And it's still, even,
ever...
I'll just quickly say this, even now, like, watching him play as Dark Zero, it's not like he's lost a step, in my opinion. I still think he's one of the greatest players in the world. Hands down.
I still watch him in scrims. I'm just like, wow.
He's just amazing.
Wow.
Honest to God, like, watching him play, like, even at the Manchester Major, where it was not fortunate for him to progress as far as he did, still did absolutely incredible. And I think that's still understated for the fact that for a person of his, basically of his stature, and still performing at the level that he was playing 2-3 years ago, is credit to how good of a player he really is. It's just a matter of, again, adaptability. But I think he's gonna still do great.
I was going to say, do you ever feel like you're overstepping like certain players, like let's say Beaulo, like you're telling them to do something when maybe they think they should be doing something else? Not necessarily Beaulo, but like just players in general. Like, do you ever feel like you're overstepping?
As long as the players know that I'm never every discussion that we have is a discussion. Like, no one's opinions trump anyone else's. Okay. And we can see, like, it's not a bad thing as long as you recognize that we see the game differently. And like, I come from looking at scenarios differently. So I'm all about giving people perspective. And if they can see my perspective of the scenario, they can have their perspective, they can have someone else's perspective. And it all rolls into, at the end of the day, decision making and game knowledge. And as long as they're seeing like multiple perspectives of scenarios, it gives them a wider breadth of knowledge to make better instinctive decisions, because they're not just playing comfortable and playing to what they know. I like to challenge ideas. Like, one of the first things I said when I came into DZ and had my first meeting was that I'm going to challenge what you think about this scenario. I may be wrong, and I may know I'm wrong, but do you know that I'm wrong? It's constantly like getting them to think about the game, think of why they make decisions, and because this game is all about instinct. In the 2v2s and the late rounds, like, that split-second decision can win you or lose you the game. So if I can make that split-second decision making that 5% better, 5% more consistent, because I'm constantly challenging their thought process and bringing and implementing new ideas into them, that's good.
Do you think like players are generally like just open to whatever you say, or do you get challenged a lot, sort of thing?
I think because, like, interregionally the game is very different. Like, coming to NA, the game is like, they just play complete different to EU. So things that worked in EU for me that I see as like more consistent ways of holding bomb sites, no one attacks like that in NA. So, excuse me, prioritizing areas of the map and prioritizing strats, I may have the opinion of this is better, but it may be in EU, but I've had to learn that in NA it may not be the better way of holding the bomb site, because they attack very differently. But then obviously that's then a positive of I'm bringing the perspective of when we play at SI, we're going to be playing those different regions. We may have to prioritize different things in terms of strats, in terms of play style, to counter our opponents. Like the way that NA play Nighthaven compared to the way that EU play Nighthaven, complete opposite ends of the ballpark. That it's almost a different map. So when you go internationally, you have to be able to recognize that, and that's Nath coming in last year where he brought EU stuff over, and now I'm bringing more stuff over. So it adds the wider perspective to the team as a whole.
I guess mixing it is probably good, because you can kind of use both different region strats and techniques and sort of mix it. I can see it being a good thing at the end of the day anyway.
Yep.
All right.
So stepping back from being a coach and everything like that, how do you think this year or 2024 Siege is upholded from a player standpoint?
Oh, that's a good question.
Because we spoke about it in one of our podcasts from our experiences and what we thought the game was of this year and what we expected for year 10. How do you think Siege has done in 24, and how do you think it should be in 25?
The game or the esport?
Let's go with the game to start with.
Go with the game. Yeah.
Well, I think content-wise, the game has been very poor. in terms of what's being released, what's coming up. However, there is a reason for that, which I can't say.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
There is a reason, but in typical Ubisoft fashion, the communication isn't good. They just
But there's an actual intent and reason for it. They just
Yes,
can't say.
yes.
Okay.
Okay.
You know what? We'll
That's the
find out.
frustration. That is the
Yeah.
frustration, though, because, like, I mean, we only see from like a consumer point of view, like the game. We're not getting anything. What are we getting? R6 membership. And it's like it's just so much frustration. I keep bringing it up every pod. It's just so
awful.
frustrating.
It's awful.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ubisoft's communication, it's just they shovel shit and they expect people just deal with it because they're already loyal to the game.
Yeah.
Which to uphold a fan base and a player base, you have to keep people hooked. You have to keep people enticed, and you have to make people feel like they are valued playing this game, like how much people dedicate. Because I think Siege is a very unique game in that the player base are so loyal.
100%.
Like once you're in the game, it's very hard to get out of the game. You do kind of stay hooked, but that's like the entry level
Just
difficulty,
quickly, like,
right, of Siege.
Do you think that's because of how the game is? Like, it is like one of its kind, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Do you think it's
Yeah, I agree with
Because
that.
it stimulates something that no other game really stimulates.
Yeah, I agree.
Like one thing that I'm sad that they moved away direction wise was like how gritty the game was, like all the colors and the feeling of the game. It felt a lot more dark and tactical. Now, ever since the Fortnite boom, the game has moved into a lot more bright colors, a lot more nicey.
Yeah.
Whereas I like the game when it was very tactical because it gave it a feeling that no other game has ever come close to. Like that, everyone knows that final 15-second timer when you're in a 1v1 and that noise of like the heartbeat.
Oh God,
that's brilliant. Like that is just fantastic game making.
Yeah,
it's brilliant because it's a feeling that you don't get anywhere else. Because it just feels so intense. You get a feeling with Siege. That's the way that I'll put it. You get a feeling with Siege, and once you get that feeling and that adrenaline, I win this clutch, or I make an amazing play that defies the odds, or you outplay your opponent. Like you outthink them and you outplay them. That is just rewarding. So you stay with Siege. But the issue with Siege is getting into the game and actually learning it so you're able to pull off that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I was going to say, I literally had it yesterday where Siege is like the only game where I felt like this, where my heart is coming out of its chest. It's so intense. Like when we played Canal yesterday, in a clutch moment, 4v1.
Oh mate, that was a fucking.
When you get those like 3 kills and there's one left,
Yeah.
my heart is coming out.
I agree.
I
agree 100% with that because I play other shooters like CS is like the most infamous example. It just basically just gets a kill feed and that's it. And then Valorant tries to do it with the noise of whenever you get a kill, but with Siege, all it does is it keeps it grounded. So even like something as simple as the music that plays when you go 3v2 or 2v2, everything's designed in a way to keep you hooked while not going like bombastic with it. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And
like we said as well, it's all the different variables like you got to calculate with painting, as you said, painting the map, like where you think these people are, like what even operators they're using. Do they have nitros, shotguns? It's calculating that in seconds, and it's trying to figure it all out. It's intense.
In a way, the sound of just the ambient sound of the maps makes it as well, because you get immersed. Like say you're in a 1v1 and all you can hear is just the ticking of the bomb. You just and you're on a sound whoring for the other player, waiting for a footstep, waiting for a shuffle. Where is he? Like that's fantastic. But then there's other parts of the map, where there may just be a printer going off next to you. You just hear the sound of the paper gushing out.
Or border, that massive,
the little horn,
the helicopter.
God.
I love it.
You're not attempt to board the helicopter.
You have to just shoot the radio just so you can listen to every distinct. Again, it's just
like it's just immersion, right? That I don't think you get from CS or you get from Valorant.
Yeah, I 100% agree.
That's why I think there's many games who have tried to not copycat, but try to imitate Siege in a way. But I think Siege is one of those games where it's completely come from its own pocket
Yeah.
of visually sounding, the way it feels the game, and it's just I think that's one of the reasons why it's obviously been able to survive for a long time. But I think they need to learn from this year, and they need to take a step back and think this year weren't great because the only things they kind of did was here's two new operators, here's a big bearded guy with now a big fucking shield, and here's another way for you to give us money. It's not really
I think
like
that's
amazing.
Yeah, I agree. From a consumer standpoint, all we want is open communication. I get there's some surprise that they want to keep for us, from what you may have alluded. I'm not going to keep pressing on, but honestly, I think that's all we'd ask is just open communication. I felt like that was there beforehand, but it's kind of died down a bit. But you know, that's just how it is. But I will say that's from a consumer perspective. Now, from esports, I think this is slightly different because for me, SI 2024. Wow, absolutely wow. I just loved
cinema.
it. Was genuinely for me the best piece of sport content I've watched in a long time, because the storyline, how it led up to it, the final itself, it's and then the Manchester Major for me, me and Ronald were planning to go and actually go and attend. We really wanted to attend because
really wanted to go.
To us, we've wanted to go to an event like this, but we couldn't make it, unfortunately. But the atmosphere, the crowd, the games that were being played, especially with Beast Coast having like an absolute amazing, like a Cinderella storyline in a way of how they just came out of nowhere and just dominated the scene. How would you say the esports aspect of this year has gone?
I think the esport aspect of the tournaments this year has been fantastic.
Yeah.
Like as you said, the storyline, like SI24, I think will be an event never replicated ever again.
No, 100%.
That just everything about it, the whole spectacle. It was almost the perfect event. It had everything. Manchester Major had the storyline, had the crowd. EWC was at its biggest so far with the most amount of teams. BDS, doing the 3 times like that. That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
And then in Montreal Major, like even though the crowd wasn't the same aspect and spectacle as SI and Manchester, W7M for the org, B, completely changing teams and then re-winning an event is phenomenal. And I think that team has been a very underappreciated team across the past year and a half.
Yeah, I agree.
And they finally got their flowers.
I agree.
So I think this year has been really good for the game. I think the blast direction of the game moving into 2025 has had its controversy in the format change with the partner program.
Yeah.
I still think that is a terrible direction.
Do you prefer the Faceit format where it was you had the invitation obviously over in February? I mean, I do, because I felt like, to me, and this is something that I would personally say, the off season just doesn't feel like there's enough. It has the same problem with it as Valorant, where there's a long off season and there's not enough going on. And I feel like for the players, they get a little bit just bored, and they're having to go, obviously with the content of the game, they're trying to make do with what we got. But then when it comes to the tournaments, they're too far spaced. I find that the format that it was originally, with a major literally every 3 months, so whenever a season was, kept the game interesting, kept the game involved, and for the crowd and for the audience as well, I find it was more engaging because you could keep up to date a little bit better instead of having this long break and then having to remember the storylines that came from it.
Yeah. Every player just wants to play.
Exactly.
No one wants to sit there scrimming for 4 months to then have a tournament of, a season of 8 best of ones in EU going into playoffs, which you may get, depending on how far you get, you may get 2 best of 3s. No one, okay, it is rewarding and it isn't rewarding. You have to, it's really difficult to stay motivated for that long and come every day. And obviously that's down to the coach and then down to the players about how much quality you're getting from the practice. But it is tough. is tough to just sit there for 3 months with nothing to play, because everyone's in this industry because they want to win.
Yeah.
Like, and you're only getting that fix if you're playing games and you're winning games. Everyone would, I would say the majority of people would rather have more officials than practice, because like similar to CS, I saw the CS calendar yesterday for next year. It's literally tournament after tournament after tournament after
Yeah.
tournament. You got like 5 days between tournaments. So that there's no time to practice, no time to rest. But in a way, I think people who are committed to competition and winning, they want that. They want to just play game after game after game after game, because that's where they get their enjoyment.
I agree.
So the long off season, it A, for the players, and B, for the fans. Like, I still, as I said earlier, I still take myself as a fan of this game. I don't want to sit there with no Siege to watch for 3 months.
Yeah.
I want them to be playing against each other. I want there to be games. I want it to be good broadcasts, and not just all community casts like qualifiers. I want, and obviously that all comes down to financials. It all comes down to financials and the budgets. Okay, it's been decreasing.
Yeah. That's fair enough.
Which is a shame, but we've got to take what we have. Like, we're not in control of it. They are. You just got to play what's given to you, unfortunately.
I agree. I find that with CS is a perfect example, because I watch CS from time to time, and again, you have ESL, you have Blast, you have the majors. Like, we just finished, there was a major event over in Shanghai. Again, like, if you're a CS fan, there's always something to watch. You always find something, and I feel like Siege had that. But of course, there are things that's happened recently, obviously with budgets, as you may have said. I just wish that they could just work around it, just to say, look, while certain things have may decrease in terms of, like, you know, our financial output, so production quality may decrease a little bit, I find that it's still engaging for people to still watch it, and you'll get the benefit of the reward of it, because we now have, like, again, back then, spectator cam wasn't as good as it is now, where you can now literally get a much better view of how everything is going on. People understand how to actually spectate the game, and, you know, you get a really good output of how it will look. I just find that, we're just stuck with many, many months where it's not being showcased enough, and as a result, people aren't getting exposed to what is, like, the best of the best of Siege, and that's where people get inspired. Like myself, I just want to play Siege after I watch, like, a major event. It inspires me to try and play at that level, even though I'm not going to play at that level at the moment, you know, but it inspires a lot of us here just to play, because you want to see the best of the best play. It's like watching a football game. If you're telling me, like, sorry, there's a 2-month break from not watching football, I'll just laugh and go, no, I want to watch more football, mate. That's all I want to do.
And even during that off season in football, you know, you're still surrounded by football. It's transfers galore. You know, you're still getting, like, new storylines, because transfers occur, and you're then, okay, how's this player going to impact our team? How's losing this player going to impact us? Like, and it's still discussion. Whereas the unfortunate side of esports, there's a lot more about the marketing of things. So when transfers occur, they wait until the last possible moment before their next game to reveal the new player or reveal the changes, because then that increases the viewership going into the game. Because if you announce the player, you know, 2 months before the game, everyone's going to, you know, majority of casual viewers are going to forget about that before you get to the game. So it's all about viewership, but then it means that it is very dry in those off seasons for fans.
I agree.
It's not even just that. Imagine you've got, like, a pro team, and then you've got this massive long off season. They're trying to keep themselves motivated. They get to the tournament, they're gone. That's it now. There you go. You've had your 3 games, and now see you later, because you've lost. That must be the worst thing in the world, to try and keep motivated and then being the first ones to be out of that tournament. If I was in that position, it'd be like, oh, sure, fuck this. What's the point? Because now we're waiting 4 or 5 months to get into these games, and we're ready for it. Now, just to lose, now we've got to wait another 5-6 months before we even be able to get another chance at it. That's why I really liked Go 4.
Yes,
I loved Go 4, and I will say I'm an avid winner. But I was going to throw that out there. I have a little trophy. But no, that's why I liked Go 4 and Face It a lot, because it meant that not even just pros, but even, like, the generic player base was able to get a taste and a feel for playing competitively. And a lot of the time, as well with Challenger League. Challenger League was another good way for these players who were unknown to get into that kind of scene and play competitively, especially with all these other teams and stuff. But now that's not really a thing. There's now no content on these off seasons. All these players are, well, gonna want to focus on their content creation, because obviously I bet scrimming is for 4 or 5 months just gets boring. And then when you get to the tournaments, you're doing the same thing. You're just scrimming, but for money.
It's actually good.
So
It actually leads up to another question I have. I've got two, but I'll ask this one. What are your thoughts on Siege Cup as sort of like what's been introduced recently by Ubisoft? Do you think that this is going to be the best path to lead into possibly getting into Tier 1 through that progression, or do you think it's just more of just another mode that the casual audience could get into potentially?
I haven't played it. I'll preface that with I haven't played it.
Fair enough.
But I know of it. I've watched people play it. I think with a lot of things that get put into the game, I feel like the execution isn't there, and it kind of misses the mark of what makes competitive Siege competitive. Like it should be Siege Cup should literally be, as you said, the go for it. It should literally be mimicking every rule set of Pro League.
Exactly.
Every like, why is it first to 5?
Yes.
Pointless. Make it first to 7. Why are there only like 4 maps, and some of the maps aren't even in Pro League? Make it 7 map pool. You do a map ban. You get into the game, and then because then it mimics Pro League, it now feels more like Pro League. So people get more into it. It feels more intense. And the second thing would be coming down to the matchmaking side, like the first few Siege Cups, because it's based off your rank, and rank 2.0 is not an indication of skill.
Agree.
It meant that the games were not stimulating for the majority of people, because there was a lot of the time a big disparity in skill level. So either you were just getting messed about, or you were doing the messing about, and it wasn't very stimulating, which is also the issue of rank 2.0. The games are either so stupendously easy or stupendously hard. Like it's very, I don't know why, I don't know what has happened, but it's just the matchmaking system has just not made ranked feel competitive. Like ranked is almost a casual game mode. Like you just play it to play it. Like the incentives aren't there, and you don't get that level of game anymore where it's like, ooh, like you can get them. You can get those games that, wow, that was a hard game, but a lot of the time it's not stimulating anymore. And that's the draw of Siege we were talking about earlier. Like it's immersive and it's stimulating. But if you don't have that, if you don't have people matching at the same skill level, you're not going to get either, because one team's just going to outgun the other opponent, and that's where the concept of what was it called, the run and gun meta came about, and that just came about from rank 2.0. Like I don't think that was anything about 1.5s or the operators or the meta in the game. That just came from this team didn't need to play tactically anymore, because they could just outgun the opponent, because the opponent wasn't up to their standards. So you don't need to play, if you can just abuse your opponents by winning every gunfight. You don't need to play tactically. You don't need to play consistently. It's like when, say, a tier 1 team plays a qualifier and they play a tier 4 team. That tier 1 team does not need to use any strats, does not need to do anything, because they can just outgun their opponent. And that's what rank 2.0 is. And that's not fun for either team.
No.
The team that's getting battered, they don't stand a chance. Like no one enjoys being battered. And then for people who love competition, battering an opponent is not enjoyable either. Yeah. Even if it's getting a rank, even if you're getting 10th in the world, it doesn't feel rewarding, because you're just,
there's no challenge.
Running in with that.
That's exactly what I was going to say straight after. Is every time now I step into Diamond or anywhere close to Diamond 3, Diamond 2, it's, oh, nice.
Yeah, there's no reward.
Whereas when I hit Diamond originally before in rank 1.0 all those years ago, it was, holy shit, I'm now the top rank in the game, and you have that sort of rewarded feeling. You're not just getting a player banner and a charm, because that's what I feel like ranked is now. You don't play for your rank, you play for the charm.
It's like a battle pass in a way.
Yeah, because it's the only decent thing that comes out of it. Because even if we were to hit champ, it would be, oh nice, we're champ.
Again, it's like going back to how when me and Ronoff were starting to play like Siege on a more competitive level, like just getting into ranked because we were playing casually. Us getting into plat was like really huge because it was quite, and we were still learning the game as we were going. And
That was a hard elo.
It was a hard elo, but it was actually good to learn the game properly and see how people played properly. Whereas now I find that we can get into whatever rank we want. It's just the matter of time that you put into it now.
It's just a grind, isn't it?
It's a grind instead of actually representing your skill value. But the other question I wanted to ask was, in terms of a meta, what would you say is your preferred? Like, do you prefer the meta that we have now, or did you miss the gadget meta back in in 2020? Or what was your kind of favorite meta and why?
I think the meta exactly 1 year ago was perfect. It was perfect. I thought everything was balanced. Nothing was overpowered. I even think now we are in just behind the perfect meta. Like the shield rework is the only thing souring the meta right now. I hate the shield meta.
I was going to ask your
so boring. Why have we done good changes to the shields, which it doesn't make them any easier to deal with. I just want to say that you at least have a fighting chance now, whereas before melee priority meant that you had zero chance of ever beating a shield. It was impossible. Now you have a chance. But why have we done that and then released an even better shield than Monty and Blitz? Where is the sense in that?
I know, it doesn't make any sense. We started banning Blackbeard because he's just too good of an operator. And when people don't ban him, I just literally went to Ron and said, just play him. He's just too good. He's just play him.
Do you know what the worst part is? They've not only just given someone a shield, they've gone, here's a fully automatic AR, but also here's an ACOG for that AR still. It's not like you've not even tried to dim it down a bit. I mean, they've done from my perspective, it's like they wanted to get the pick rate up, but instead they've just made the ban rate more.
Yeah.
So they've done the complete opposite to what they originally wanted to do. So.
Oh God, the Blackbeard.
I just want in the meta. I just want every operator to have its niche. Yeah. And like if you try and make every operator viable for every single round, you will never create like a good balance. Like right now, there are so many useless defenders who have been useless for years and have never been touched. Rook, useless. Alibi, as soon as she lost like a shield or her impacts, useless.
Yeah.
Thunderbird, like her buff is actually all right now,
but she's still useless.
Still useless. And I think that would very easily be rectified from a pro level if every defender, maybe not every, but underpicked defenders just getting a side shotgun is massive because half the time when creating strats, you have to have 2 or 3 operators who can make holes and can make rotates. And if I think about it, I am so restricted in what I can use to do that because impacts don't do the job. Like, okay, you need 2 rotates. You can use impacts for it. But you're going to want a shotgun to do majority of it because you've got a lot of holes as well as rotates to make. Yeah. Okay, you got mute and smoke. Those are your mainstays. That's why they have had one of the highest pick rates, most consistent pick rates in the entirety of the game. Because their utility is consistent and they just have a shotgun and a good sidearm. Legion, Frost, Mirror, Castle. After that, there aren't really operators that I would put first choice in my lineups to make holes and make rotates. So I'm literally confined to like 7 operators to do site setup.
Not even with the bailiff.
So my flexibility. I mean, the bailiff's just useless at making holes. So
it's true,
it is all right. Like you can
on certain maps.
Fenrir can do it. Fenrir can do it. Dot can do it with a bailiff. Oryx can do it.
But it's not as effective as like a super shorty or like.
But it takes so long.
Yeah,
that's the issue. Like if you're Fenrir, you've got a BP to put down. You may have a couple of reinforcements. You've got your 4 Fenrirs to put down around the map. Like they're not all in one spot. And then you have to use the slowest bloody reloading pistol in the world, and even the holes it makes aren't big enough. So half the time you have to use 5 shots for like just make it a crouch rotate, and they use another 2 or 3 to make it sprintable. And you've only got 45 seconds of prep phase, you know?
Yeah.
Doing those holes in cafe as well, like trying
Oh
to
my-
destroy the
No, I'm
counters
good.
and whatnot.
No, I'm good.
It's a
I'm good with
nightmare.
that.
I mean,
remember Mozzie
that's-
though? Mozzie had a super shorty.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, but giving Castle the shotgun, I think was the best
Yeah.
thing ever, because especially with the hold on Calf in Bakery, putting the rotate hold to the side and
So
then passing
useful.
up. He can do that himself. That now, where it used to be when you wanted to do something like that, you had to be, Smoke, can you come here and do this for me? So you're eliminating already one player doing other things like reinforcing, putting barbed wires down, to have to do a 1-person job, so 2 people have got to do it. But now that it's all 1 person, it's everybody can do the separate things, and now you have that
Makes it more
time to
efficient.
concentrate. Yeah, you have that time to more concentrate on everything else, and Castle can kind of just do his own strats and not have to wait on this other person sprinting from all across the fucking map just to help him out to sprint all the way back to where they want to play. So it's good.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
better like that.
Shotguns and like side utility. Like no one has a shield anymore.
No, you're
A lot
right.
of operators do, but they're shit.
That's so true.
Why? So they've given Pulse a shield to try and up his pick rate. Why would you ever bring a shield on Pulse? They gave Thunderbird a shield. They're just giving operators that are underpicked shields in the hope that it's going to up their pick rate.
Yeah.
But if I have a shield, I literally have like 3 viable operators. I have Frost, I have Warden, and I have Ella. That is it.
Yep. It used to be Smoke. Yeah.
So
I don't even
Smoke
know these days who has a shield.
Smoke
I'm
doesn't
not
have a
even
shield,
getting
no.
any. No, he doesn't anymore. Like I'm not getting any. I can't choose my variety anymore because either the operators with shields are just their primary utility is useless.
Yep.
Like Pulse and Thunderbird at pro level are considered pretty useless. And even if you're bringing Pulse, like why would you ever not have a C4?
Exactly.
Like the whole point of the operator is for the C4, and it
works
just
so well, yeah.
it
With
just
Gadget.
signals to me that there's a blindness from the people who are making the decisions about actually what makes operators good. And then it ends up with them going, oh, well, we gave this operator shield, but it didn't make them any better. So we got to do more to make an operator picked. So we're going to make it completely overpowered.
Yeah.
That's where they end up. And that's, the product of Blackbeard.
I think the Blackbeard was one. Grim getting the extended barrel when they did the whole extended barrel change. I think this was last year in season 3. And he had literally 2 shots, and anyone I think of any armor type was dead. And it does not make any sense to me whatsoever. And they then later on going, oh, well, we'll just buff him to be one of the best operators. So you now had a guy that had basically a 2-shot weapon, had great utility now, because his whole thing just got buffed to unproportional levels, in my opinion, where he was just useful in a lot of aspects. He now had a bailiff, which it's alright, I guess. And then he has hard breach charge. Then he got an impact EMP to replace his normal breach charge. Just like, yeah, I remember having this conversation with these guys, and while it's fun having an overpowered guy, it gets to a point where, in my personal opinion, it becomes boring, and it makes it not as fun. It's great at the beginning because you have the power fantasy, but after a while, I find it eliminates any fun. It eliminates any challenge you got, because you got is basically this character that just does everything and can be self-deficient.
We won't take too much more of your time, but I have one question I'd like to ask quickly. Is what do you think of passives? Like a passive and operator, let's say like Sophia Withstand. What's your thoughts on that?
I don't really care, to be honest.
No.
I don't really care.
Really?
I liked all the different passives of it.
Who was it that got rid of Sophia's thing? Because wasn't it a pro player that moaned that it was overpowered?
I don't think it was. It was a. I remember it very vividly. It was a round on old consulate.
Yeah.
And it was Eminem, and Usus used the whiffs. He got injured through the floor. So the site was old lobby, and the diffuser was planted on main door. And Usus had diffuser, like it was covering diffuser from above in a 1v1. He got injured through the floor by the guy diffusing, but then he was able to pick himself back up. He picked himself back up and then killed the guy diffusing and won the round. So then that became really controversial. That why, like, this is the only operator that could have done that, and like, there's a case for if he didn't know it was as a fear, which is a weak argument. Like, he probably known it's as a fear by then. He shot his gun, but that's the only operator that can do that. That's not their primary ability. Like, if it's a thinker, okay, fair enough. It's their primary ability. Well, not primary, but the heal still is a thing when you're injured. But why can that operator be the only one to do that? That's the counterpoint. I don't really care. I think they're nice because I think they're quite cool and quirky for the casual community. Like, but at a pro level, for consistency, it is probably a bad thing.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it impacts 1 in 1,000 rounds, so I don't really care.
Okay, fair enough. I find that personally, because I think it was when Tachanka was looking to get it himself as well. That didn't make any sense to me. I found that, it was fell on the side of consistency.
Oh, did you know? I heard some news that Tachanka's losing his launcher, and they're turning it into an underbarrel for his main guns.
Thank the Lord.
That would actually be a massive buff.
Which is massive because that launcher takes a solid 77 fucking years of your life to bring it out and start shooting. Whereas if you had, a launcher, it's going to take you 2 seconds.
That is the main reason. Like, ever since Tachanka got his rework, I have always been the biggest hater of him. Like, he is pointless.
S-tier hater.
In a game where you have to shoot people, why does it take me, as you said, 75 years to bring the weapon out? Why does it take 1,000 years to reload?
The reload's mental.
Like, okay, I understand you have to kind of balance it because he's got, say, comparing him to Smoke as an area denial or a plant denial, he has a lot more time denial from his launcher. Like, if Smoke can only do 30 seconds, he's got, 20 launches each go in 7 seconds, I think. So he can delay a lot more time. So you need to kind of counteract that. So you can't make him just blatantly better than Smoke. But right now, Smoke is blatantly better than him in every scenario. Apart from Tachanka having a shield, which
I have used Tachanka on certain sites more than Smoke. Like, let's say Border, right? Archive. I can just hide behind the shelving. So if I'm listening to sounds, they're jumping in. I'm spamming the shit out of that launcher.
Yeah.
That whole area behind the counter, I don't have to peek once. Or if I hear them planting.
But the thing is, because they hear you using your launcher, that is giving a sound cue of information of your position. So everyone else on the map knows where you are because it's very loud and you can see where it comes from. You can see the rough position. So you're giving your position away, and information is key in this game. You're giving your position away, and you're also telling the opponent, I don't have my gun up. I cannot shoot anyone back that is going to kill me.
I do have to rely.
As soon as I hear a Tachanka launching, that is a freebie for either me or communicate to someone else. So that means someone has to protect you, which then means you're not then doing something else on the map.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I have to rely on the team to make sure they don't just rush in and take me out, and then
All right, I think we should get to wrapping this up. So again, we appreciate your time that you've spent. We've almost done an hour and a half of chatting about this solely.
I've been yapping. Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
Absolute pleasure.
No, thank you for having me. I always enjoy stuff like this. I just love the game and I love what I do. So if I can talk about it in my spare time, I find enjoyment out of that.
That was the whole reason why we started this in the first place.
We just chatted about this a lot in our spare time.
Yeah.
No,
but thank you for coming. We all appreciate your thoughts and everything on, and then obviously good luck with this year with yourself and in the pro scene.
Yeah, good luck for the sixth Invitational. Good luck with just this year for pro scene in general.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm flying out to Texas in 3 days to the DZ team house.
Yeah.
So never been to America, so another new experience.
Have a good time in America, mate.
Would you ever vlog it? Sorry to ask another question. Would you ever vlog that sort of?
Not really my kind of thing.
No.
No. I like my own space. I like my independency. I'm not big social media guy. I don't really care about it.
Like your privacy. Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Well, yeah, thank you very much again. Well, I'm pretty sure we've said it like 100 times. But yeah, we are really grateful for you coming on. But
Oh, my pleasure.
yeah, it's been good. Well, that's it. Thank you all for watching, listening, wherever you're watching or listening. And see you in the next one.
Take care. Bye-bye.